Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody out in Stream Queens Con land. Thank you all so much for coming into Resident Evil Into Drag Air. Today, I'm going to be joined by an absolutely stunning group of drag artists who all share a passion for all things Resident Evil. So we're going to go ahead and begin with some introductions. Dear, we're going to go ahead and start with you. If you could please go ahead and tell us your name and your favorite Resident Evil game, and we'll just go ahead and rotate around.
Okay. My name is Dear. Let's Play With You Fear. I love to play scary games up in here. I'm a streamer on Twitch. I'm the founder of Team Stream Queens. Thank you so much for being here. Resident Evil is one of my absolute favorite video game journeys, series in all of gaming. Capcom is my favorite publisher. Resident Evil is one of my favorite games. So I'm just so excited to talk about it with y'all. My favorite Resident Evil game would be Resident Evil Outbreak, but most people don't know that one exists. So I'll say Resident Evil 3, the original one, or Resident Evil 5, or a lot of them. But Resident Evil Outbreak is what I'll go with.
Beautiful. Okay, so we'll move on. Oh, I lost my mouse. Okay, so we'll go on to Lady, and then we'll rotate around from there.
Oh no, no, Kim is
I
frozen.
think that Lady's
Oh no,
cam is frozen.
Just kidding.
You got
Oh
it.
my god. My name is
Whoa.
Lady Lay. I'm a drag queen from Aotearoa, New Zealand, and my favorite Resident Evil game is Pro Veronica.
That's a good one. It's a really good one. I like that game. Okay, Inertia.
Hi, everybody. My name's Inertia. Inertia, if you're nasty. And I'm a streamer here on Twitch. You probably saw me earlier for Animal Crossing. But my favorite Resident Evil game is Resident Evil 7 because it's the one that got me into the Resident Evil series and playing horror games in general. So.
Okay, beautiful. We gotta love Resident Evil 7. I mean, hey, without 7, we wouldn't have had Village. Am I right? All right, Grimshaw, you're next.
Hi, my name's Crazy Grimshaw. I'm a drag queen from Melbourne, Australia. I would say that my favorite Resident Evil game is probably also Resident Evil 7, even though someone on this panel called it a D tier Resident Evil game. Either that
Maybe
or
multiple.
Resident Evil 1. Original or remake, I like them both.
Beautiful, and that leaves Nikki Mirage. Nikki?
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Nikki Mirage, and my favorite Resident Evil game is it's actually recently changed because I really enjoyed RE4 Remake. I did not enjoy RE4, but I really enjoyed RE4 Remake. So I think it's actually become my favorite game. Before that, I would have told you what to toss up between 7 and 2 Remake, because 7 is what got me into the series, and also the reason I got popular on TikTok in the first place. So man, it's a special place in my heart for that.
Well, thank you so much, Nikki. And finally, my name is Miss Diana Hull. I am the current moderator of this panel, and my favorite Resident Evil game is actually going to be Resident Evil 2. I enjoy that game so much. It has such a great playthrough, especially with the 2 routes that you can take for both Claire and Leon. So it's always had a special place in my heart, although 5 is actually very close behind.
2 OG.
I love 5.
Oh, 5 is
friend.
great. Yes. Yes.
Original 2 or remake
Lady
2?
wanted to know 2 original or 2 remake. Diana.
Oh, so I've don't shoot me. I've only played the remake. I have not played the original. I have seen playthrough of the original, but I have not played it myself. Which, speaking of original versus remake, let's go ahead and ask our first question of the night, which is going to go ahead and be, which do you prefer and why? If whoever wants to go ahead and start, this is a freestyle discussion. We'll go ahead and start with whoever wants to jump in with their opinion. Dear?
So we're talking about original like 90s to 2000s versus the remake starting in like 2018, kind of 7 to 8, 3, 4 remake.
Yes. I will clarify, for one, you can count the PS the PlayStation version, you can count that towards, since it's like a remake. Yeah, I
Yep,
would put that.
That's the new era, remake
Yeah.
era. I prefer the original ones only maybe not only, but I grew up with them. So like my first horror video game was Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation. And so I love the fixed camera angles. I love the music. I love the sound design. And even though they haven't aged that well, like definitely video games have grown since then. And when you look at the remakes, they have these cinematic qualities
Mhm.
that you can't deny. Like they have great graphics, great music, great sound design as well. But just from the standard, and that video games didn't exist like it beforehand, and I experienced these games when they were new. I love the originals so much. I could play them over and over and over and over. And the remakes, like I like them, and I think that they're great games, like I said, but I get bored of them.
Mhm.
And I think it's just like when I like something, I like it so much that I could keep doing it. It's like when you have a movie that you can just turn on anytime and you love it every single time, and you like you can say the script as it plays. Like that's how I am with the old Resident Evils. And for revolutionizing the video game industry in 2005, it's very important to video game history. And 5 improved upon it, 6 mechanically improved upon it, and then the remakes are great because they're like taking that original formula and making it the best it can be. But the originals just have the it factor for me.
Yeah, I would also have to agree. Oh, Nikki?
I like the phrase mechanically improved on it for 6 because the combat is fun. It's
I like to play Mercenaries.
yeah,
with
the
some
game
friends,
the game
why
is
not?
yeah. But we can get I guess we get to that later. My answer to that is, well, I can't really answer that because I have played a few of the original. I've played 4, 5, and 6, and I've played the 1 remake, but not original 1, 2, or 3 or Code Veronica, so I can't really answer this question that accurately. But I know a lot of people do say that 3 remake was kind of a flop compared to original 3, and from what I've seen, that's true. So
Yeah, 3 was very disgusting to play through, especially since I was very excited to get to play through the worm section, and that was just gone. And half of the sequences that made Resident Evil 3 what it was basically gutted out for the sake of time. Could have kept it in.
yeah, I guess I can't answer because I have finally, now that 4 remake came out, have a game I played the original of and have played the remake. And for 4, at least, I like the remake more just because I think original 4 is very clunky to play. It's a,
Mhm.
It
and
hasn't
that's
aged well.
and yeah, it has. I well, a lot of people love it and say it's their favorite, but I found it very clunky to play. And whereas 5, also you can't like run and shoot. 5 to me just felt way smoother and like a way more fun game to play mechanically than 4. So I really liked 4 remake.
Mechanically.
Yeah. No, I like. Okay, I think the 5 is campy.
Listen,
I think that for me, I think that it like almost depends on the day. It's like splitting hairs to decide
Yeah.
if I'd rather play like a remake or an original. They give me different things, you know, like sometimes I'm in the mood for sushi, sometimes I'm in the mood for pizza. It's like they fulfill a different desire. But that's kind of true of like the franchise as a whole, right? So like if you want the like traditional style of gameplay, you've got 1, 2, and 3, and then 4, 5, and 6 that like over the shoulder, and then 2 and 3 remake are different again, and then 4 remake is kind of its own thing, as well as 7 and 8. So I think original and remake are both good, but I think they're good for different reasons.
So my first game that I played on Resident Evil was gonna be the original Resident Evil. I played it the PlayStation version, and I also played the original version from the 90s. And it's kind of nice to see how they like both revamped it, but also kept the story and the pacing. I mean, I used to speed run the PlayStation version all the
Isn't that
time.
game? Do you mean the GameCube version?
Or the game well, there's a PlayStation version which
Well, the remake was released for GameCube, though. I
Yeah.
found.
oh,
the
We're
original was
comparing the
on PS.
PlayStation and the GameCube
Yeah.
ones.
yeah, I played it on the PlayStation. That's how I got it into Resident Evil as a whole. And I used to speed run Resident Evil 1, and I would watch actually old Game Grump videos of when they were playing it at the time, because they were also speed running it. So I would learn their strats, and I tried to do that with 7 on the PlayStation. I watched actually quite a bit of a YouTuber. Their name was Carcinogen. They do a lot of Resident Evil speed run-throughs, and I know for a fact Nikki just got triggered.
No, Diana. I'm gonna
What
ask
does
you something.
interdrag air mean? I'm so sorry. What does it mean?
No one knows.
Is everybody asking that?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody in the chat, every message in the chat is, what is interdrag air? What is interdrag air? And that was
Plane.
my question. Is it a plane? Like, what's going on?
So the reason why I went with Into Drag Air, so I knew about Dead Aim, and in my head when I thought of the title of the paddle, I was like, okay, I can't say Into Dead Aim because it sounds like a gameplay panel. So I went with Into Dead Air.
Right.
But that doesn't make sense either.
Air. I don't know. I just thought it sounded.
it's a
I thought
play
it
on
I mean,
sounded
it
cute.
sounds like it means something. What it
Yeah.
means, I don't know though.
Yeah,
It's the Dead Aim remake.
It's
called
very
Drag
unique.
Air.
It's my art pop could really mean anything. Is what
So,
I
I'm
meant.
on
into
it. I
dead
understand.
aim, into dead air, into drag air.
Is that actually what the panel is? Us just trying to figure out what this
We're getting
is?
thrown out of a plane in
Like,
inertia.
oh my god, I'm excited.
Wait, okay, that's RE5.
Oh, okay.
It's all coming
Speaking,
together.
Good night, let me see.
since we did kind of touch a little bit on
I do want to talk about remakes, just so you know.
Yes. continue. I got
Okay,
Go,
so,
go ahead, lady. You have the floor.
I personally, it's interesting because I agree I actually do prefer the remake. The issues that I had with 2 specifically is the fact that I feel like they removed, like visually, it looked like they removed color from everything. It was all like very desaturated. Whereas like in the original, it's not desaturated. It looks like a real place that is, going into descent. Versus like this strange aesthetic that they went into where people were no longer camp, no longer fun, didn't really have any point of view.
It had a serious tone for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, but like I also think that there's a gun inside is quite serious,
Too bad.
Too bad. And also the issue with me was I think that RE2 came out when they were still working on the RE engine. It wasn't optimized for not even lower end PCs, but like mid, like decent PCs that would run good games. It wasn't optimized for that. There's a whole setting that you have to go in to make sure that you have to like type into the game files to make sure that it turns it was either ray tracing or like another kind of it was a color HDR off or
Yeah.
something, and you have to type that into the game files so that it doesn't like burn out your PC, which is odd. And I can understand it looked great, but it looked great at the highest settings on a computer that could run it. And I found that's unusual when you would go, oh, okay, let's just play on high or not ultra. Let's just play on medium. It felt like even high and medium, like it took so much away from it graphically that like it might as well have been PS1 graphics to me. And so I was like, so now I'm looking at a game that graphically doesn't actually look that great because I can't play it on ultra. I had to go into the game files to make it play. And I'm not getting there's a gun inside. And
It's
so
not
I'm like,
quotable. That's
it's
for
not
sure.
quotable.
Hmm.
And so I feel like that was kind of missing. I was then surprised that RE3 was optimized so well. And like RE3 ran which came out later, which you'd expect they would have done more on. They would have, used higher quality things by that point. It ran better than the RE2 remake did, and it ran perfectly smooth in ultra graphics. And I was like, slay, well, there you go. It's a nice, it's a game that anyone can experience. And so I enjoyed it for that. But the original 3 is also better. But the 4, I think they slayed both with gameplay and making it optimized. And I feel like going down in the settings on 4 isn't as bad as when you were going from ultra to high to medium on, say, 2. Because the shadows in 2, if you didn't have those on ultra, the shadows were crosses on the wall. And it was who's carved up the wall? No one had. It was meant to be a shadow. And so it's okay, let's just turn them off, because if you can't have it ultra, it doesn't look like anything. But I also love Resident Evil. I love Capcom. I would love to be a Capcom creator if they ever decide to go global.
Doesn't Wesker say something global annihilation, global saturation? That's what he
A
says.
protective code that leaves the house.
So true, lady.
So true. And
Sorry, I just had to get that off my chest.
oh no, as someone that used to have to stream a PlayStation off of a laptop through a capture card and try to fight the settings, I know the struggle, especially with RE2 coming out, the jet engine that turned my PlayStation 4. Oh my god, even Village would run my PlayStation 4 ragged. So I'm glad that they finally finally figured it out, basically, and did their little test. I still think that Village was the test for RE4 remake because of all of the assets that were used. And so, speaking of RE Village and kind of this section that I want to go into, some of us are dressed as Resident Evil characters. Others are
We all are.
looking glam. Yes,
Everyone is.
Inspired-ish.
Yeah.
and
Everyone named their Resident Evil cosplay.
Okay,
lady, you go first.
I'm Wesker.
I'm
Jill
Resident Evil
Valentine.
5 Jill Valentine with the scarab, with the mind
Yeah.
control device and the blonde hair.
And I'm the president's daughter, equipped with ballistics.
You're peeking.
I think he was drowning.
I'm so scared.
What the hell was that?
She's possessed.
Oh my goodness. I'm Lady D. Kind of like a discount store Lady D.
Oh,
Don't-
you look good.
She
Man thing.
the stupid man thing.
I'm Ada Wong. I'm just kidding.
And I'm a famous Resident Evil character, Jessie J.
So
Oh.
true. Lady, if you're inspired by Wesker, you will give me an egg.
You will give me an egg.
Yes.
A
I should have
protective
dressed as
card
Excella.
that leaves the hand.
Oh my god, Excella, the queen.
You are still a child. You are just not ready for me.
You could also maybe be she's wearing less clothes at the time, but gorgeous Alexia, and she's walking down. You were not
Look, I'm
worthy.
Excella.
Oh, you're Excella now?
I'm suddenly Excella.
Suddenly Excella.
So
Look back.
I'm glad that we're talking about like Excella, all these different characters, because I want to know who are your favorite RE characters? Oh, okay, go. If you shout it out.
Oh, well, I love the ones that I can quote. Look at those monsters! It's Rebecca in the original RE1, and she's just an absolute. She's an icon. And then in Code in Zero, she's like, and I never saw him again. And it's the only time she ever speaks, like from
In a
her
mo-
mind.
in like a voiceover. The whole
It's
game
like-
has
it's like
no voiceover
But
except
there's
right
no
there.
voiceover in the entire game, and then who is it that's leaving her? Is it Ricardo? Enrico. Yeah, is leaving her, and then she just stands there, and it's just a voiceover. I never saw him again, and I love that as well.
Where did he go? He just went through a door.
So I
She
love
just followed him.
Rebecca. I also love Alexia and Alfred from Code Veronica. You were not worthy of its power. I like the quotes. I like the quoting.
If I could just so my favorite characters are all the women and
Yeah.
Chris when he wears slutty Halloween costumes, Warrior in 5, Sailor in Revelations, all the mods for Resident Evil Village. But I also just love all the characters that you can quote. Like everyone is quotable in Resident Evil Outbreak. I also love Jill Sandwich. I love when Claire says processing freak. Like I love all the stupid quotes. But specifically 1, 2, 3 originals, Code Veronica, like that prior like 90s and 2000s era are very, very quotable because I feel like they were so I have a theory because in the original ones all of the cutscenes were spoken in English, and then in the Japanese releases, the native releases, they just got subtitles. So I feel like they didn't even care what the actual voiceover was saying, and that's why we got such half-assed written scripts that became iconic.
Yeah.
And I wish people would still write, stuff that great.
Oh yeah. Everybody needs a Jill Sandwich every now and then.
Mm.
I agree with Deer though, like all the women, but I also really, I don't know why, maybe it's because I'm weird, but I really liked the merchant in RE4.
What are you buying?
Yeah.
Exactly.
What are you
selling?
That sounded so good. What the
Stranger.
fuck? Why are we so good at this?
We played the game too much.
Oh my
We're sick of it.
god. I was like, do I have it open? What's going on? No, I just like the characters who like obviously serve a good utility purpose, but like you want to know more about them, but there's literally no information. Like they're just there. You can and also you can interact with them. I think I like accidentally shot the merchant in RE4 the first time I played it. I didn't know you could do that. And it was so
I
dramatic.
tried it and killed him as well. Yeah, I had to
He
do
dies
that.
so slowly and dramatically.
It's like, ooh.
I was like, you just got shot. Why are you? He's like, oh.
I really wanted to
The
draw it
slow-
out, make you feel
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, and then you see him the next time, and you have to buy more to make up for it.
Mhm.
You feel bad.
Ugh.
That's
Well,
my-
I also agree with Gia in that I think Chris in a small outfit is a great character. But my favorite is probably Ada because I feel like she is the
bad.
like she's
Ada,
the
Ada one.
femme fatale archetype that I love. And I feel like she's had pretty consistent characterization between like the originals and the remakes as well. She's just like a badass. She's cool. I want to be her. That's why I bought this bob.
Yes.
No, yeah, I love Ada. Like, especially like the separate ways that just came out was incredible.
The
Like,
I
grapple
loved it
kick.
so much.
I like it was so fun. I think it's the women. Like I love all the women in the series. I love Sheva. I love Claire, Jill, all of them. I even in Revelations, Jessica in her one-leg wetsuit, like sickening, fierce, and then in the flashbacks and her fuck ass Bob, like I live. But yeah. I have a special place in my heart for Leon. I think he's a very fun pro tag, but yeah. I don't know. I
love
like a
that
lot
you
of the
mentioned-
characters.
I
I
love
like
that you
the main
mentioned
cast.
Jessica because like there's this one part where she's like, me and my sweet ass are on our way to you. Like when Chris like needs her help at one point, and it's
Yeah.
so like she's ridiculous. She's as ridiculous as Excella, as Ada. Like all of the women are just so over the top and fun. Even in the
Mhm.
new ones, that's something that they've retained is like
Yeah,
the women
'cause,
are
like,
fierce.
Yeah, like Lady D was really fierce in Village.
Yes.
Yeah.
well, that's
I wish
probably
she was
why-
in the game longer than she was. Like
Mm-hmm. We're still talking about her.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
She's
Yeah.
here with us in the room.
I feel her presence in this room tonight.
I mean, she was really popular. Like I know like a lot of the women in RE are very popular, but like when Village came out, like it was like crazy, the obsession over Lady D.
Lady
I-
D was a lot.
Like, it was everywhere
Yeah.
and warranted.
I remember like desperately trying to get the G Fuel Resident Evil shaker that was just her, just because it was her
So
on
cool.
the shaker. There was the obsession. We were all down bad with Lady D. Honestly,
I forgot to mention one of my absolute favorite characters is Sheva. And she gets a bad rap sometimes because if you play it one player, she's AI and she's a bad partner. But when you play it with a friend and you really get to connect with her, she is so cool and sweet and amazing. Sheva! Sheva!
One of my favorite RE experiences of everything I played in the franchise was playing 5 co-op with Diana. So, like people who hate on 5 Pimp have never played it co-op, and
I need a herb.
Yeah,
I need a rocket launcher.
yeah.
Give me an egg.
That's how
Come
Chris
on.
does it. Give me an egg.
I also want to touch on Grimshaw mentioned Ada and loving separate ways, and I too, especially with the remake of Separate Ways, I thought it was amazing, and a lot of people online were terrible to the diva who voice acted for Ada, and it really, I don't know, something always irks me when people have like a femme character who's like quite firm in her delivery or like has like a steely presence, like, and I'm like, it felt, I feel like people don't let women in games be that type of character, and I think that she gave a really good job, and I really believed her, and it was, I really liked her performance. I just wanted to say that.
What I'll say, I didn't prefer her delivery in Leon's campaign, but I think that spending time with her in her own campaign, like it made me feel more for her, because I was like, why is she? Because Ada's always not, besides Resident Evil 2, because she had a different depiction, the original, but like ever since she's had like this bad bitch, she's sarcastic, she's in your face, like she doesn't take anything serious, and she's like beautiful and flirty and seductive, and she has all these different qualities. But in the remake of 4, she was a little bit like distant in Leon's few cutscenes that you get of her, but I think in her campaign it really like showed that she is multifaceted, and she's still flirty, but she also is like over her job, and she's overworked, and she's still wearing her heels for some reason.
Yeah.
But she's fierce and doing flips and doing her thing, and I appreciated the actress way more in Ada's dedicated campaign.
Yeah.
But I would never go on socials and be like, ew, she was awful, she was terrible. Like, she was fine.
Yeah, no, people on socials were not great to her. It was really upsetting, because I thought she's a star.
Yeah, it's very upsetting when people just don't like a performance, or they don't think it's to what they would have wanted, that they feel the need to go and harass the person that voiced it, when they have, in reality, they have no part in what the character says or how they do it. That's all Capcom. They're just getting paid to provide the voice. So to attack that person, not only does that kind of like ruin their morale in their own career, because this is a career for them all, it's also then gonna show to Capcom like, oh, maybe we shouldn't hire someone that's gonna cause waves or have us questioning whether or not they're appropriate for our character based on what the public is saying, so that it screws them out of opportunities.
I just think everyone's a critic, you know, like you're not gonna like everything, and so people are so quick to go when they don't like something. They're so quick to rip it to shreds when they know, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not an expert, you know what I mean, in like voice acting. So like, why did you feel the need, so upset to go on social media and literally attack someone who was just doing their job? You know, I don't know. That's with everything though.
Yeah, I feel like this. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Jana. I was just going to say, I feel like I understand where people are coming from with the change in voice actress for Ada. Like, people get very attached to the character. The voice is a big part of it. I understand, like, you know, with the big controversy about, like, the change in Bayonetta's voice actress in Bayonetta 3, like, that's a character I love. I think it, like, makes it a very different character to me to not have that same voice, right? And I think people felt the same way about Ada, particularly because, you know, her actress in the Resident Evil 2 remake was like so well regarded and did such a good job. But having said that as well, I totally agree that regardless of how you feel about it and how much you might like love this character, it's not a reason to go onto social media and like launch attacks on people. And there's a big difference between critiquing someone's work and like I don't think you need to know everything about voice acting, you know, to be able to give constructive criticism. But there's a difference between critiquing a performance and just like personally attacking this actress, which is, you know, what people did for this. They were like on her Instagram leaving hate comments and stuff on her photos. And I think it's like, this is like getting off track of Resident Evil slightly, but I think it's like a real problem in like of the social media age, that you can't necessarily do work that people are passionate about without running this risk of, you know, not just being trolled, but being swatted, doxxed, death threats, etc.
Yeah.
I think
It's-
that they touched upon it during the women's panel earlier, that just women in general are under so much scrutiny. So like she probably could have delivered it anyway and there would be haters, which is the sad part. But like
Yeah.
for every hater, there's people like us where we're just like, oh my gosh, live, like go off queen. So you just
I think because it was also it was a great move by Capcom, because in the RE2 remake, Ada was voiced by a white person.
yeah.
And so
So they're
like,
doing their due diligence in
Mhm.
you know, diversity.
Yes.
um,
And so kind of on the same topic of like, you know, getting a lot of hate for no reason. I feel like that happens a lot with the Resident Evil series. I feel like that happens specifically with games. I remember seeing a lot of negative opinions, especially on the recent games like for 7 and Village. I remember seeing a lot of very, very contrarian opinions on like the state of the games, the quality of where they're going. Those have been going on since as far back as 5, because I remember once 4 released, everybody was pretty much saying like this is the apex.
Not
It
me.
can only go up. I would agree with that statement. Playing the original 4, I agree.
Were there
And-
what were the critiques for 7? Like what were the
Probably the
fundamental,
first
like,
person
issues?
thing.
It's
a
not
lot of the
Resident
first-
Evil, right?
Yeah.
Like
Ah.
that was a big, which I think is not really a valid critique when you
No.
look at the Resident Evil franchise as a whole, because it's
Mhm.
never really stayed to one specific genre or style of gameplay. Like there's a very clear and distinct generations.
yeah.
And sorry, just I'm answering your question now, Diana. I think that it's not fair then to like critique 7, for example, for just being different. If there's things you don't like about that specific style, like the first person, like more horror focus that 7 had, that's fine. Or if you don't like the over the shoulder nature of like the 2 and 3 remake compared to the original, that's fine as well. But I think if you are not prepared for the gameplay of the series to like change dramatically every so often, you should probably like find a more consistent franchise to enjoy, because it's Resident Evil is never going to stick it.
Yeah.
One
Or
thing
maybe not
forever.
stick to a franchise, because a franchise is a franchise because it's changed up every now
Yeah,
and then.
that's
Yeah.
you're so right.
You have to
Just find games of one specific genre, play
Stick
style.
to Call of Duty.
I just I like when
Yes.
you're like in the grand scheme of things, it's like you can take elements from things like from like older elements from the games that people love and you love, but modernize it in a way that maybe is more accessible to like people will enjoy it more. But you know, it's hit or miss. Some people will like it, some people will not. But I mean, I think that's just the nature. You don't want every game to be exactly the same. You want them to have some differences, because then you can talk about them. Then you can have this panel.
Yes.
You can have Into Drag Air.
Into Drag
Yeah, Into
Air.
Drag Air.
Whatever that means.
We'll
I
find
do
out
think
at
that
the
that's
end.
like people criticize video games, movies, comics, like literally all media gets criticized for changing too much or staying too the same. So I feel like it's a lose-lose if you look at it that way. Because if you identify the differences and the similarities between all of the Resident Evils, each one has a gimmick. Literally all of them have a gimmick. The first one set the stage. The second one has the zap system. That's what they called it back then, where you play as one character first, you play as the second one, and they've gone to the places that the other one was, and they can get the other item that you left, or they do something and it changes the story for the other, like they interact. The third one had choices where you could choose between different routes.
Mhm.
I mean, Zero
Code
had
Veronica
the
had soft locking.
yes, fucking Zero. You could just take a dump on the floor wherever you want. Like every game had these differences, so like it's never stayed completely the same between all of them. And Capcom, if you know anything about Capcom, it's that they are experimenters with their games. If you look at all the games they've made, they barely make things that are like knockoffs of each other. Like besides the fighting games from the 90s, they really like stick in different
Diana.
ways and lanes. Uh-oh.
Diana.
Hi, Diana.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Oh no,
Are
we
we all
moved
different
around. Now I'm
people?
Queen Nicki Minaj.
Oh wow.
Oh, and
I'm
did.
the moderator now.
Oh my god.
and Diana's muted beautifully.
Oh wow.
Sorry,
I'm
sorry. I had
Grimshaw.
a little misclick by accident. I am
Oops.
sorry. Dola is going to kill me.
Oh, wow.
I was
How
thinking-
come
It's a drag air.
that was the drag air.
That was the drag air.
Did you see it? Did you see the drag air?
It was
Wow.
beautiful.
Is it
I've
easier to
been
move the
changed.
cameras or to move the nameplates?
I'm not sure. But I was just saying, like, video games in general get too much criticism, and Capcom and Resident Evil always switch it up. So it's like, you know that it'll change in some way every once in a while. It's usually in threes, but not always.
Mhm. I was just thinking while we were talking about this too, like with the actual like physical medias outside of the video games, like the TV shows, the Netflix series, the movies, those got a lot of flack too. There are some good. I like the animated Resident Evil on Netflix's. I'm not in the majority in that opinion, but I know Nikki's got some experience. She's down to tell us.
My actual first exposure to Resident Evil as a franchise were the original movies with the Alice character, who was in all of them.
With
and
Mila
I-
Jovovich.
Yeah, Mila Jovovich. I live for those movies. I think they're fun. The first two especially are really good because Jill looks exactly like Jill and
Sienna Guillory.
Yeah, I love those movies. I think they're super fun. Some of the characters, like Chris, wasn't very good in them, but like I think.
But he's gay. Chris is gay, y'all. Listen up.
Who plays him?
The guy from Prison Break. He's gay. He's Chris.
Yeah.
So
But
it's
I
Chris,
don't know.
by
I
association.
love those movies. I haven't seen Welcome to Raccoon City, but I know that like the actress who voices Ada played Ada in Welcome to Raccoon City. So
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, that's kind of cool. And then I don't know. I just love those original RE movies. They are very special to me because for years that was my only exposure to Resident Evil. It's more interesting looking back at them now because I've played the games, so now I actually know who all these game characters are that were in the movies, and I have and I kind of want to like rewatch them from that lens now.
Well, I feel like if you play the games first, the movies are not quite as enjoyable. You know what I mean? Like you have expectations that you kind of set for yourself. You know what I mean?
That-
You don't know.
I
Does
know.
that make sense?
I personally disagree with Welcome to Raccoon City. I'm aware so many people hate it. There's going to be people in the comments right now saying how much they hate it. I think there were moments in it, especially like there were like a couple of shots of gameplay I had specifically remembered from Zero and Code Veronica, which I noticed like had shot for shot been recreated in Welcome to Raccoon City. And I was like, oh, like it was like fun to see people, and like it felt like a work of love. And I enjoyed I enjoyed it. I think I'm unsure how much I would have liked it if I didn't know the story.
Yeah,
maybe.
I feel similarly about the like original Resident Evil films because I remember as a kid, long before I was allowed to play Resident Evil, seeing like the like DVD covers and stuff at like, you know, the DVD store, and being like interested in it. And then my like first exposure to Resident Evil was playing Resident Evil Director's Cut, the like PS1 original. And subsequent to that, I saw the first Resident Evil movie, and I think I actually enjoyed it more because I could like draw the comparison between like things from the game. And that like the first RE movie, it's not necessarily super faithful to the like original game, but I felt like its like vibe and kind of general idea is like very much, it's very clearly inspired by the first Resident Evil. And actually subsequently with the later Resident Evil movies, because I didn't feel like that they had like as close of a connection to the game as the first one did, I didn't enjoy them as much. Like and this is like the same reason that I think the Silent Hill movie is good, right? Like the first one, like I want to be able to draw that like line of comparison between the game and the film, and it doesn't like, for me it doesn't like make them any lesser. I enjoy that like getting the references and kind of knowing what I should expect.
The Easter eggs of it all.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love so Resident Evil 1, the movie, came out in 2002. So we had Resident Evil 1 in 96, we had Resident Evil 2 in 98, we had Resident Evil 3 in 99, we had Code Veronica in 2000, we had Survivor, we probably, I don't know if we had like Code Veronica X yet, but we had all these Resident Evil games. And so this movie comes out, and I remember I saw it in the theater. I was so excited. I think I was like in middle school or something, and I went with my dad. I was like, please, can we go see it? And I just thought it was so cool because it's a movie inspired by those games I play. Like it was like seeing the Street Fighter movie, which I also saw in theaters when I was in whatever year that was. It was like 93 or something. But I saw it as a little kid, and I thought that it was so cool to just see like people dressed up as some of the characters I know, or just seeing people in the lab in Resident Evil and like getting the sci-fi kind of vibe. Like it was just stylish and cool to see it in a new way. I don't understand. I get the idea of wanting like, oh, I want to see a live action person play out that iconic scene like Lady Lay mentioned. Like that's exciting. But if they don't do that, it's just another piece of media inspired by that thing you like. And like I don't know why people are so attached to, oh my gosh, this remake needs to be perfect, or this movie needs to be perfect. It has to be the perfect idealized version that I'm thinking of in my head, because nothing will ever take away that original thing you liked. Like I was disappointed by the 2 remake. I was disappointed by the 3 remake, but I still liked them. They're not like, you mentioned my tier list. They weren't F. F is like unplayable. That's only Umbrella Corps and Resident Evil 6. And Resident Evil 6 I will play if someone begs, like, please play it with me. Like it's cool. Like it has redeeming points. But I just like Resident Evil. So media after Resident Evil, I've read some of the comic books. I haven't seen the show. I haven't seen all the movies, but I just like stuff inspired by the things I like. So it's like a love letter. Like Lady, did you mention that it's like a love letter to that?
I did,
yeah. It's just cool to see media inspired by media that you already like.
Yeah, and they're different medias as well. So it's like, you know, it's interesting because you have a whole lot of people whose job is, you know, film. You know, that doesn't necessarily mean their job is gaming, but they all love the game, and so like they're creating this work of film. But people who have played the game, or a lot of audiences tend to like want a play-by-play, which I don't think would ever work.
That's not profitable if it's literally a play-by-play. Do y'all remember Psycho? They made a remake with Anne Heche, and it was a literal every single shot. I think Vince Vaughn was in it.
Really?
It was a shot-for-shot remake of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
Oh my gosh.
And it abysmally, like, it did horrible in box office because we've already seen that. Like you could just go
It
rent
does
it.
nothing,
You could go buy
right?
it.
Like,
You could
Mhm.
stream it. You know,
It just-
when that came out, it was the 90s or the early 2000s. So like you had to go to Blockbuster, but like people had already seen that. Like give us a new angle, give us something new, give us something fresh. Like it's
Well,
not
like-
fresh to remake it unless you're just a fan of all TikTok. Like that
With-
only serves
With
for-
Resident Evil though, it's like if you were gonna go see a movie that was exactly scene for scene the game, why not just stay home and play the video game? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? 'Cause
exactly.
then you're in control. I just think it's like people like what they like, and then they go on. It's like the social media thing again. You like go online and you see these horrible reviews of these things from like I don't know who, and then you all of a sudden are like setting yourself up for disappointment. You know what I mean? Because you go into it, you're like everyone hated it, so this must be terrible. And like if you like it, then and you're like in a minority. It's like a bandwagon thing. I think. I don't know. Most of the things that people say are terrible, I find are not actually that terrible. It's just a bandwagon of
Yes.
things. You know?
There's also nuances. Like
Yeah.
we could talk about
Well,
all the worst. Oh,
Oh,
go
not
ahead.
a,
Go ahead, lady.
not a
Lady
raise
Lake.
hand cue. Ladies.
Scooby-Doo was terribly criticized by critics. It's got a
Did you
horrible Rotten
Scooby-Doo?
Tomatoes result, and Scooby-Doo, the film, is amazing.
Like the live action one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
It's
love
camp.
that shit.
It's camp. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I love that movie.
You
I would-
mentioned something about like something being an exact recreation of something else. I know it's not Resident Evil, but like I don't know. I feel like people just can't be pleased because the Pokemon game that just came out, Diamond and Pearl remake, it was an exact recreation of the old ones, and people hated it.
It was
Yeah.
too literal.
It was
for
too
these
literal. So
people.
if it's
Like,
not literal enough, or
it's either too
literal,
artistic or it's too literal. And
what
it's
do you
like,
want?
I do want to point out though that some people do be looking for exact recreations though, because a lot of people, the Last of Us show was critically acclaimed, and that was near.
But it wasn't
recreation.
it wasn't an exact remake though. They took
No.
liberties and they built upon
That's
it.
fair, and that's
So-
fair, but it was fairly close.
It
But I
was
guess
faithful.
that's
So
very
to
faithful.
me, it's like Nikki. You mentioned how Resident Evil 4 is your favorite. The remake is your favorite, and I loved it. That was my voted game of the year. I was part of the horror awards. The voting is right now. If you go on Twitter, I got to nominate my favorite game of the year, and I didn't even have to be a part of it because so many people are nominating it and saying that it's their favorite game. They
Yeah.
took that base material. You go
Mhm.
play the GameCube one, and you're getting the idealized version,
Yeah.
like the,
No, it's
the
very-
modern version. And then they're like doing like that weird robot that chases you. They took him out, but they still had him in a room. It's just he's not a robot anymore. He's a statue. So they took all those amazing parts. They cut off all the like dud parts, and they really finessed it into the best version that it could be by today's standards. And who knows, maybe in 20 years they'll remake it again and it'll be even more amazing because of the standards changing. But like you can't just do the remake for remake.
Yeah.
No one would watch
Yeah.
a movie if it was literally the same
That's
thing.
true.
Like you can't fit a 4-hour like speed run game into 2 hours. Like you'd
Yeah,
have
exactly.
to cut out all the
Mhm.
fun parts.
I do think it's interesting because it was mentioned. The Last of Us was mentioned. I do think that is a good formula. Like how like people should look at that for like if you want to take a video game and turn it into a show or a movie, like look at how they did that because it was faithful but not exact, and it like dived deeper into things.
Yeah.
That's like a perfect, you know what I mean? Like people love this stuff for the lore, like the games, the nostalgia, but lore is like the number one reason why people go back to different. Like you learn a little thing, like another thing about a character you love. You're like, oh my god, I didn't know that, but I was, I had theories. Like people love to talk and like come up with ideas, and when that's like proven or realized in a movie or a book or something like that, people love that.
Yes. And speaking on that, we're talking about like how we would want to see in a remake or anything that goes to media like that. We want to see base material built up to a finessed point, like Dear mentioned. Taking that kind of point and bringing it towards the future, what would you want to see from future games, either remakes or a new mainline series? What would you want to see from the series moving forward, especially considering we're off of the heels now of RE4 remake and Separate Ways?
Bye, Ethan. Oh, sorry.
Oh, he's dead. So spoilers. Me, I'll play it.
And Rose is next, and
But
then Mia.
his daughter's alive.
Yeah, but his daughter already got her
hopefully not
moment
for
to shine
long.
in her DLC.
Well, I liked the DLC for Village because I liked that
fun.
it's like a fun mechanic. Like it wasn't just like you're shooting. It's like
Yeah.
that like mold
Mhm.
mechanic that you had, like almost felt like magic. But like
Yeah.
I think that would be like what I want in another game. Like keep the RE elements, the the inventory space, the shooting, the puzzles, the obviously like zombies and stuff like that. But like but add something like fun. I don't know, that was a really fun
I feel
element
like
of
they
the
usually like to save those really fun, weird mechanics for DLCs though, because they can keep them short. Like,
Mm.
But I
for
want a
that-
game. I want a
Mhm.
full game with mechanics like
It-
that because
yeah.
it adds more levels to the puzzle solving, but also it's cool. It's like
It was cool.
it was really
Yeah.
fun to do that. I thought it was. I
Yeah,
thought it was neat.
I thought it was fun too. It would be interesting to have it in, even if they went with like the next main line having more than one character, and maybe one of them could do that, and the other one played like a. One thing I do want to see is them going forward, and it seems like with the Rose DLC that came out, they're like, okay, y'all prefer it at least over the shoulder.
Yeah.
Which I think is nice. And if they're able to make it both first person and both over the shoulder,
They did it in
Maybe
Code
do that.
Veronica battle game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
They
they
got the
did it with.
technology.
And I guess they did it with Village because they released the third person version.
they released
of
the
it later.
third. Yeah.
Although it's very obvious that I played it, I replayed it again on my channel when they released the third version, and I found it was very obvious that the game was designed for first person because
Yeah.
some things were a
Ah,
little
okay.
bit clunky in third person. But
But with in terms of the remakes, because it does feel like they're continuing with the remakes, I hope that they acknowledge that Zero and Code Veronica are really important in the
The timeline.
continuation, congregation,
Yes.
The continuity.
The
continuity
because they're
storyline. Yeah.
building up RE5 remake, but I feel like how can you do that and have feature Wesker so heavily if you don't do Zero
Like
and maybe even another
yeah.
one of one and
Yeah,
Code
because he's
Veronica
important
first.
to
Like,
those storylines so
The
much.
story is 0, 1, Code Veronica, and 5. So
Yeah.
what?
I want
I-
Alexia.
Alexia's great.
I personally hope that they drop Resident Evil 0 into some kind of fire and we never have to address it again. But
Lady,
Oh, boy.
I'm Lady.
I know I'm looking at your face while Crazy Grimshaw says that.
Well, I'm doing my best not to
Freak out.
use Australian words.
she's climbing. She's going to
So-
climb through the screen at me. For that. For the future, I would like. Lady just mentioned this. I would also like to see Ari like the. I agree with what Nikki said that a 5 remake needs like its background, and I think that another RE1 remake in like a modern style, I would really enjoy that. I don't know that we'll necessarily get one because like remake is still so like playable.
The one
which
remake is so good, and they introduced Lisa in that. Lisa was not a
I love Lisa.
character from the OG, and I am obsessed with Lisa. Probably part of the reason why I like Welcome to Raccoon City, because they add
Yeah,
more to
there's-
her. But love Lisa.
I think there's not much like in terms of the RE1 remake that you could like expand upon or do differently. You know, like I've kind of
It would
already
just
done
be
it
a
once.
different play style for people who enjoy that play
Yeah,
style.
it would
So-
just kind of probably be
Yeah.
Resident Evil 1, but with over the shoulder camera, and so I don't know that that's necessarily important.
Mm.
But in terms of like tangible things for the future, I definitely think that Code Veronica needs a remake.
Yes.
I think that it's quite strong story wise, which personally I don't think a lot of the Resident Evil games are.
Mhm.
I think I really like Claire as a character. I think that like Veronica is like, and it like, with its gameplay style, it fits perfectly into what they've been doing with like 2 and 3 remake. So I think it makes perfect sense for that to be the next one. And in terms of mechanics and stuff, I don't think this will happen, but I feel like when Resident Evil went down, like its first time when it went into its kind of like flop era, or what some people would call a flop era with like Resident Evil 5 and 6, right? I think part of like the reason that happened was because the public consciousness, but also like the franchise itself shifted away from the popularity of like straight horror and into action games, and Resident Evil 6, for example, is like very, very of its time gameplay wise. I would like personally for the franchise to try and stick more to its like horror roots. Obviously, like 7 is a very extreme example of that, and that's one of the things I really like about it. But I hope that it doesn't shift more towards, just being like a gun game, which I like. The 4
I
makes me
feel like 4 did a good job because I feel like 4 remake was scarier than original 4.
Mhm.
Like it
I
had
agree
scary-
with that.
It had a
Yeah.
nice balance.
Yeah, the part with the regenerators.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the regenerators,
so
or even
good.
Ashley's part with the lights and
So
trying to.
good.
I
yeah.
think all of the like enemies as well, like
They were
the
creepy.
body
They're
horror.
scary.
like
Mhm.
the body
It was like
horror
the
felt
thing.
like a lot more. Yeah.
What I want to see for the series, personally, like I mentioned, the originals are my favorites. I just want all the games on current platforms. I want to get them on Steam. I want to like not have to whip out my Dreamcast and my Sega Saturns and stuff. Even though I love
Yes,
it,
you
it's
did.
just I do love it, but like sometimes there's latency issues or like they don't look right on modern displays. Like Capcom invented the compilation. They have Capcom Fighting Collection. They have their beat 'em up collection. They even have the collections like the Origins collection. They have 0 and 1 remakes on the Switch and stuff like that. They have they even have like the streaming of 7 and 8 on the Switch. Like why can't we have 1, 2, 3 Code Veronica, Outbreak, Dead Aim, Survivor? Like even if they didn't sell them, not all of these games sold 1 million copies, but they are important to Resident Evil history. They're important to the Capcom fan. They're important to me. I want other people to be able to experience them. And right now I can only recommend go on eBay, spend a few $100s, or figure out workarounds. Like they should just have them on Steam. Put it on there for $20. Give me the first few Resident Evils. You know?
Yeah.
I agree. Go further. Like, I think that like all of them need to be preserved, because Resident Evil is one of the like few franchises that I can think of where like even the side games are like important and plot relevant. Like if you play Resident Evil 4, there's a whole like back and forth with Leon and Krauser with like no context unless
That's
you
in
play
Dark Side Chronicles.
Yeah, unless you play
Yes.
Dark Side Chronicles, and obviously that came out, much later, so it wasn't intended like that. But it adds like a whole dimension to that, like 2-4, which is obviously a main series game that you don't get without that. And that's not the only example. So I think that like you make such a good point that Capcom is really like the king of bringing like emulated versions of their games into digital distribution for the modern age. Do it all. Give us every single
why
one.
not? And also
Let's preserve them.
to your point that 4 mentions another game, literally Resident Evil 0 mentions Resident Evil 1/2's like things because they're telling us the backstory because you're meant to play it after.
Mhm.
It also mentions Survivor. It says something that was like Raccoon City, Sheena Island, and that's the stupid side game Survivor that is like almost unplayable, but it's camp. So I love it.
Well,
We only
So-
have a few minutes though. This is going
yes.
by so fast.
Listen, time flies when you're having fun and you're having very nice discussions, honestly.
This is
Um,
good. I like talking.
Yeah, I love getting a group of passionate people together and just kind of like throwing questions out there and then just letting everybody speak, because there's something about hearing someone speak about something they're passionate about that just kind of fills you with like this kind of like nice like joy and this feeling, because it's nice knowing that someone that like you like and care about is passionate about something, and it's nice knowing about that. So I do kind of want to, we're going to kind of speed round some of these questions, but I just kind of wanted to know, they're kind of very quick off the top of the head. I wanted to know, what is your favorite spin-off / offshoot game? Mine is Code Veronica.
That's a mainline game, Diana.
Is it?
Pick something else.
Well, see, that's why I
Well, I
got so
mean-
confused with your question when you said that, because I was like, well, I'm going to say that 0 and Code Veronica are mainline games because that is what Dear taught me.
Those are mainline games. It's just
Yeah.
the fan base forgets. But if you
It's just
want to
not
say
known.
that, if that's your final answer, that's fine.
No, then okay, so then I'm going to say Dead Aim.
Morpheus, yeah. I'm gonna say Outbreak.
I'd say Dark Side Chronicles probably, or Umbrella Chronicles, which is the one that we did together, dear.
Those two.
Those two,
Umbrella
right?
Chronicles is the first one. Dark Side Chronicles is the second one. I went to New Zealand and we played it on your Wii. Remember?
Yeah. We played it on the Wii
Oh.
together. It was really
Oh.
nice.
Nikki and Nurse.
Of the ones I've played, I guess, which is like 2, Revelations 1.
Okay.
I thought Revelations. I'm very salty about the ending of Revelations 2 because, and I'll talk about this real quick. Is the fact that the ending you get depends on a split-second decision at the end of chapter 3, like over 3 hours
Yes,
of
and you have
gameplay
to go
earlier.
back.
That
I love it.
pisses me off, and that ruined it for me.
It happened.
But Revelations 2 is also really good because Claire is amazing. So,
Love Revelations 2.
All right. Inertia Grimshaw.
Inertia, you're muted.
Oh yeah.
Can you hear me? Oh
Yes,
my god, what
Yes.
happened?
Yes.
I don't think I haven't played enough of the any of the spin-off games to really make a choice here. But I will say very neat. I'm hearing your opinions and I'm writing them down.
We're gonna play Resident Evil
Well-
Outbreak. Woo!
I would love to.
I would
actually.
say, I would say Survivor personally, and I know that that's like, I know that it's not good.
I haven't
And
played
It's a
that
guilty
one.
pleasure.
Yeah, totally. It's not good, but it's like I find like it's really interesting and it's kind of bizarre, and it's so different to like the other Resident Evil games of the PS1 era.
Mhm.
And I just think it's interesting. I think it's fun, and everyone should give it a go, even though you'll probably hate it.
Well, very well said. All right, so we have 1 minute left in the panel. We're just going to go ahead and run around, reintroduce ourselves, where people can find you, any social medias. My name is Miss Diana Hole. I'm the host of the panel. You can find me on twitch.tv/Miss Diana Hole and Miss Diana Hole on all social media platforms. Okay, dear. Next, we're going to go into some more.
My name is Dear. Let's Play with Your Fury. I love Resident Evil. I love Capcom. I love games and horror. And make sure y'all buy your Stream Queens Con 4 commemorative shirts while they're available.
Okay, lady.
My name is Lady Lay. On all socials, I am ITSLEIDYLEI.
Beautiful. Inertia.
My name is Inertia. You can find me at twitch.tv/Nursh. And yeah, I just play horror games. So I don't know, and do some questionable looks.
Beautiful. Grimshaw.
My name's Crazy Grimshaw. I'm at Crazy Grimshaw on like any platform that you want. Find me anywhere you like. But see you soon, hopefully.
And finally,
Hi, I'm Nicki Mirage. I'm Queen Nicki Mirage on pretty much every social media platform except the platform formerly known as Twitter, where I'm Nicki Mirage Live. And I play a lot of horror games, and anytime a new Resident Evil comes out, you can believe I will be playing it. So
beautiful. Well, thank you all so much for coming out here and celebrating the final panel of Stream Queens Con 4. Thank you so much for being here for Resident Evil Into Drag Air.
whatever that
Woo!
means.
And coming up,
Whatever that
Coming up, the
means.
drag show. Coming
Yes,
up, the drag show.
enjoy
Don't go
the
anywhere.
drag
Into
Don't
drag
laugh.
air.
Yeah,
You will buy my